Okay, so there's a Gold Coast of Costa Rica.
Yes,
And that's where you are.
that's where I
And that
am.
is, you said northwest corner?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good.
Yeah,
I can
just on the
picture it.
Nicaragua.
It's on my travel to-do list in life, but
Good,
we
good.
literally leave next weekend for South Africa for 2 weeks. So,
Wow, awesome.
which is good because that's why I'm racking up all these extra shows, because that way I can
Yeah,
just schedule everything out. And
yeah.
we could focus on, I think the latest thing she just got done booking us on is we're going to hike with elephants.
Oh my gosh.
That's a thing. Didn't know you could do that.
Sounds amazing. Oh, there's a thing for everything. Like where somebody can make money, it's a thing.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
but so obviously, again, for the show, we are basically open format, open conversational. I don't like to just constrict people. It's open conversation. If you get passionate, I don't edit anything. I'll just say that.
Okay.
happens. I don't care. And obviously for the show's content, just so you know, when I launched the podcast, I really wanted to target, because I'm 40, so I'm Gen X, and have the Generation X and the millennial generations get more cohesive, give back, help pass along the knowledge. And then obviously the primary domains of the show are health, business, and lifestyle. So I love discussing that with co-hosts like yourself, where we're going to basically help people figure out how to balance them a little bit better or reflect more on their stories. So,
right. Okay. Yeah. That's
does that catch you up?
Yeah. No, I've been reading and listening, and it sounds
thank you.
good. And yeah, so I'm 40 as well for 3 more days, I think.
Oh, well, I just turned September 21st. So,
okay.
So coming up on, today. I'm 1 month into my 40s.
It's been awesome, I'm going to say.
Yeah. Well, I love the 30s, and I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I'm just going to put all that energy into my 40s now too. So
yeah.
Well, I have your bio up here.
Okay.
So I can, and I love to give obviously live intros for my co-host. So I'm just going to make sure I mark my spot. And that is your primary domain. You don't have like multiple brands going on or anything like that. Some people do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm on time to like enjoy my life in Costa Rica. And
oh, we're definitely going to talk about life balance and lifestyle. This is, right. I'm very looking forward to digging into that.
All right.
All right. Well, let's not waste any time here. Let's stand by, and I will. Oh, I'm trying to do a better job of this. Towards the end of the show, if you have listened to the podcast, I love to give you, the co-host, the final words, or words of the show. So I'm trying not to blindside people as much anymore, because I know that people that are passionate usually have ideas in their head. So I figure I'll tell you that now. Mm-hmm. That way I don't surprise you.
All right.
And that way, because that's your opportunity to give something meaningful behind in case people like literally forget everything else during the show. It's like, okay, what really stood out about Shawna? Because, and I'm saying that right, is it Shawna or
No, it's Shawna.
Okay, good. Because a lot of people don't realize, like psychologically, people remember the first and the last thing about somebody's conversation. They don't realize that, but I did a little psych study when I was in college. But that's just something I like to share with people.
Yeah, great.
Good. All right. So any questions before we fire off?
Nope.
Okay.
I think we'll be good.
All right. Well, and again, it's audio and video.
Yes.
So, and the YouTube is really just more fun behind the scenes. Like we're actually recording right now. It's just that way it's more rough cut. It's not overly polished like a lot of other video content can be. So,
yeah. All right.
All right. Well, stand by and I'll bring you in. You'll know when to come in. All right. Good day and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Live the Fuel show. So today I'm bringing on a new co-host for you who airs from a little island known as Costa Rica. And historically, very beautiful place. But obviously, if you follow the news, especially here in the US of A and North America, they've had a little bit of a traumatizing experience. We'll just say that. The East Coast and those islands down there are usually in a big path of hurricane force goodness and badness. We'll just leave it at that. So, but let me give you a little background on this young lady joining our show. So Shawna is our co-host today, and I'll give you the full intro in a minute here, but she started out in very mind-oriented therapy with a Master of Arts in counseling. But life had other plans. Her body began to speak so loudly through a number of diagnoses and symptoms that after years of suffering, she was required to listen, which most of us should. So learning to listen to her body took her on a long journey of learning and self-discovery and led Shawna to the world of energy and consciousness-based therapies, which combined so well with the parts she loved about counseling. I'm loving this balance here. So her main modality, BodyTalk, is a combination of the feminine energy of intuition and Eastern healing philosophies and the masculine energy of Western science, psychology, epigenetic research, just the way she likes it. So her online practice focuses on women's trauma, healing from it, and how it is connected to the autoimmune illness, mental health issues, and other health problems women suffer. So near her home in Costa Rica, she's constantly inspired by the strength of the local women she meets, where she gets to volunteer and had a free energy clinic, which I want to find out more about. So without further ado, our co-host today is Shawna Peters, and her website is theshelteringyou.com. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Scott. Just really happy to be here. Oh, thank you.
Yes.
It's always tricky to write in third person about yourself, I find, but
I appreciate it because it makes it easier for me to promote you. So, and I've been told that I have the gift of gab, so I try to make you guys sound good. And you have a very unique bio. I love it.
Well, thank you.
And real quick, because I'm a marketing guy, what got you to create the shelteringyou.com YEW?
Okay, so YEW is a tree. Oh. So the Yew Tree. I'm a little bit obsessed with trees. I named my business after a tree. I named my daughter after a tree. And I just really like trees.
All right.
Yew Tree just has some amazing symbolism. So it grows in milder climates. It doesn't grow here in Costa Rica or where I'm from in Canada, too cold. And it just, I love the concept of the tree in the three parts. It's got the roots, it's got the trunk, and it's got the leaves. And so the trunk is like you yourself. The leaf canopy is like, those you're in community and connection with, and the roots like your past, what holds you in place. So I just love the symbolism of trees.
Well, it's funny because a lot of professions, I'll leave it at that, use the tree graphically, imagery wise, right? So like people think about it from their genealogy, their history. I've used it in the business world just to represent like the pipeline, right? Like your pipeline is literally the force coming up through the trunk, and then it's, branches out into maybe different projects, different initiatives, et cetera. So there's so many ways to use a tree, but and the best part, especially the root system, I love reflecting on that because so many people focus on the big pipeline, so to speak, but they forget like, what are all the things that are fueling? That's right. Buzzword there, but fueling that growth of that tree, that trunk. Everything that has to get into that trunk that eventually will grow and build out to a beautiful plume, if that's the style of species it is of the branches. And I can geek out with you on trees because I used to work for the Forest Service. So
I love it.
Yeah. So my job was to actually make sure they didn't burn to the ground. So.
Right. Yes. Important. Yeah. And and the roots are so amazing. It's like this network, and it's almost like trees. I've been reading a lot about them, and the newer studies that are coming out is actually like they can communicate through their roots. It's almost like, the neural pathways like we have in our brain. And so trees are just really fascinating. And now, we can do such amazing research on things because we have so many instruments. And
well, you're definitely at a higher level when it comes to recognizing the pathways of energy and everything else because you've been really digging into it. I would like to consider myself more noob because I can thank actually having the famous Dr. Jack Cruz on the show, who's a famous neurosurgeon and neurologist, and just helping understand things like blue light. Like, for example, right now for our video feed, here's my new glasses. I should be actually wearing these right now. So I don't know if there you go. Wow, I haven't done this yet. First podcast rocking the new glasses. So.
All right, my daughter was just telling me, Mom, you need to get those.
So according to Jack Cruz, this is going to help me not die. He takes it to that seriously of a level. Because when we did his episode back at episode 51, he was wearing, not this exact model, but he was wearing blue light filtering glasses. And admittedly, it is 7:50 p.m. right now. So I should start filtering this type of frequency out of my retinas, out of my eyes, because it does supposedly obviously affect your sleep habits, really. Like actually, according to him, the strongest concentration or production of melatonin happens behind the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Never knew that.
Yeah. And we have epidemics of people with insomnia. And I mean, lots of people actually feel like they're sleeping, but they're not really resting.
Hmm.
And that's a pretty big health concern for sure.
Oh, my fiance, maybe you can guide her. She's an equine vet, horse doctor, chiropractic doctor as well. So
Amazing.
she doesn't really dig on the energy piece,
Mm-hmm.
but I know she understands the value of obviously manipulation, adjustments, tissue. They even have her other doctor for her practice actually specializes in acupuncture as well. So these are three strong ladies, three horse vets. She's got the chiro niche. The other one's got the acupuncture, and the other one's just traditional. So back to your point on, since you specialize working with women, I just thought it was kind of cool, but her sleep habits are terrible. Oh my God. She sits there playing the iPad, watching television right now, probably. I don't know. But I was like, I love her. I was like, babe, I was like, let's dial that back at the end of the night. Let's help your brain quiet down.
Yeah.
Because you could probably back this up. Rest and recovery, R&R. We use that term in military. We use that term in my firefighting career. We use it in fitness. I tell people, guys, like, do not underestimate the power of R&R, aka rest and recovery. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I really value rest, and we've moved away from that. I mean, people, before all modern medicine, people rested a lot, especially when they were sick. And now, and sometimes you just need to do it. You need to pop that, Advil or whatever and go. But we do that so often that we're not resting. We're trying to be at work and be doing everything and just numbing the pain, covering it up.
Okay.
And so, and so there's a really big difference too in the body. When we're constantly on the go, we're setting off that fight or flight mechanism in the body. And so the body, what happens is the blood pressure goes up, the heart rate goes up, and all energy is diverted away from your normal functions like digesting and doing all the stuff that you need to do.
Those aren't life-saving functionalities. So it's like, great, let's move away from that.
Yes. So the point is, when we stay there too long and we're not in rest and digest mode ever, we are just breaking down at a much more rapid rate than we really need to be.
And obviously, maybe you can speak to this. I don't know if you get into this, but I'm sure you've heard of adrenal fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting into more hormonal studies in my own biohacking days these days, especially since I've had other people on to talk about epigenetics and things like that, which is part of your niche. But we talked a lot about the power of rest and recovery and the fact that you keep pushing that. This whole joke around like, oh man, I'm hardcore, man. We're burning the candle at both ends. You're gonna burn out, and you're gonna have some serious health side effects. But I mean, do you get into some of that with your clients as well? Like discussing this point of, I mean, you hit the point of adrenal fatigue. That's a pretty bad place to be at.
Yes. So I have hit that place in my life.
You personally?
Yes. So I struggled all the way from when I was a teenager with fatigue. And so I'm not sure quite when I crossed the line into adrenal fatigue. But that is a really bad place to be. It does not feel good.
And it's not easy to kind of bounce right back from, right? Because you're already so far in the hole.
Yeah. Because that is the spare energy. That's the backup. So when you've burnt that out, then the backup is gone and you just don't have that anymore. And so for me, what I had to come to after many years was dealing with trauma in my life. Because when we've experienced trauma, that can mean we have so many reactions. We're very reactive to circumstances around us that remind us of those past circumstances, or maybe our body can just simply never relax. Something that happens to people who've suffered trauma is that they become hypervigilant and hypersensitive, or they kind of go the other way and just lose all sensitivity. So in either direction, we're going to be pushed way too far.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, because again, I'm not interviewing you. We're having a co-hosting relationship here. So I feel like again, to our listeners, guys, I love you, but I need to get some nooks and crannies for myself here too. So like when I was doing the wildland firefighting, I mean, I think you know a little bit about my background. I've talked before about, I didn't realize when I was doing it that was such an extreme piece of my life. Like you're doing 16-hour shifts on the fire line, hiking in the mountains. You got a 40 to 50 pound backpack. I was a sawyer my second year. I was hiking with a chainsaw on my shoulder all day long. Granted, we get strong, we get fit, but I know we joked around, like we would run our fire season ran from April to September, end of September. And everybody called August Dirty August. Because everybody it's like, listen, man, you got 1 month left. It's just like, just get through that 1 month left. And it sounds like I wasn't necessarily traumatized, but part of my training, part of the repetitive, always being, we call it like, listen, you got to keep your SA up, situational awareness. We were constantly like, it was literally part of our life-saving practices. Like, listen, everybody's got to keep their SA up. Everybody's got to have their head on a swivel. You're monitoring ember wash falling in from a wildfire nearby, or you're watching out, make sure that dude next to you with the chainsaw doesn't cut you, or wielding it. All these things. It's like, I felt that was just, I mean, trust me, I slept great every single night under the stars when we were camping, because mentally and physically, I'm like, thank God I'm going to pass out. And I usually slept straight through the night unless there was a, bathroom break needed or something, because we were constantly hyper hydrating like crazy.
Right.
So, I mean, so I wasn't traumatized. I mean, I don't know, would you rate that as a trauma, or would you see it as something different?
Yeah, I think trauma, like the definition now, really depends per person. So something that can be really traumatizing to one person may not be to someone else. It really depends whether it overwhelms your capacity to deal with it. That's really now the functioning definition of trauma. So, me and a sibling could have a very similar experience with a parent, and it could be devastating and traumatic to one and just roll off the other one's back, So how did you recover from that? What did you do for yourself when you were done in September?
I found the power of, the programming I follow, and since 2010, when I did that, was at the end of the fire season, I figured, okay, I'm going to recharge. So I booked a trip to Ireland, went and backpacked the island, which is funny because people are like, wait a minute, didn't you just spend the entire summer backpacking? I'm like, good point. But I wanted to try and stay in the culture as much as possible. You take buses here and there to connect from city to city, but I just wanted to be like no rental car, whatever, stay in hostels. So did that for like almost 2 weeks, came back, went to a personal trainer event, and I just noticed my workout energy hadn't restored. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, it's been now, we shut down into September. That was a middle of October trip. Then I went to this training event in Boston to do some CEU credits. And it was like, I took a class on toxicology of the body. What was the name of the class? Interesting, huh? Mm-hmm. So you take for granted that your liver and your kidneys and your natural body's functionality is designed to not just, I'm filtering things out so I can go urinate, for example. Like there's way more things going on behind the scenes. Your body is capable of detoxing itself and handling detoxification up to a point of wherever your health or your state of health is at. So that's where I was like, I might be pretty beat down. Maybe I need a reboot. Mm-hmm. So one of the instructors, she was connected with a nutrition company that I still work with called Epigenetic. Some people get it, some people don't. I don't care. But I was like, okay, I will take one of their like nutritional reboot. Like for the next 30 days, I'm still eating my whole clean foods and stuff like that, but I'm adding in these vitamin regimens and nutritional cycles to just like jack my nutrient density back up to where it needed to be. Yeah. Which admittedly our food is nutrient deficient. So that was already an issue anyway. So I thought, okay, so literally I started feeling good, right? Mm-hmm. Then I was actually following their cleansing and detoxing program, which I've never done. Mm-hmm. So that was what taught me to this day that I still go through these cleansing and detoxification cycles throughout the year. And people are like, well, I thought your body already detoxifies itself. I was like, aren't you Mr. Health Nut? And I was like, yeah, I'm healthier now, which makes my cleanses just goes that much easier. And I can also experiment more, have fun. I play with intermittent fasting now, and I'm experimenting with ketogenic stuff, and I'm now doing the biohacking. So I just fast forwarded from 2010 to now. So I found incorporating in cleansing, fasted states allowing your body to not focus on digestion, like you said earlier, right? Like, hey, I made my body focus on the detoxification process, not your 3 square meals a day or whatever my lifestyle was when I was firefighting. And yeah, like within 2 weeks, all of a sudden I had this like, boom, like this explosion of energy. And I was like, whoa, what was that? And my coach at the time, she's like, well, that's what happens when your body actually gets what it's been missing.
Right.
She's like, you were living on MREs and whatever they fed us at the fire camps and Cliff bars and whatever they stuck in our brown bag lunches that we jammed in our backpack and hiked into the mountains with. I look back now and I'm like, that was not setting us up for success. And my body paid for it. So does that help answer it a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And, I really like what you said, like when you start thinking about what does your body do? Like, when do we learn that? We kind of learned that in grade like 7 or 8.
Yeah, you forget about that.
You forget and
take it for granted.
It does not matter that much to you at that time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, wait, I'm in a science class. I feel like I'm smarter now. And I'm like, and then like 1 year, not even 1 year, probably 6 months goes by and you've already forgotten it.
Yeah. But when you stop to think, I think like the liver has over 800 functions that it alone does.
Oh,
like
that's a new number for me. I like that.
That is intense, 800 different functions. And then you stop to think about like all the different organs, endocrines, and body parts that are going on. And then we have non-physical parts to us. So those are the energy parts. And, that's a lot going on. And so that was something that I had to learn for myself to move from like chronic illness and autoimmune illness, was not to just nourish the physical body, but
that was my starting point, right? We focus on the physical because that seems to be the fastest.
Yes.
Right.
And you need that. Yeah. And then, so I started with that. I had a natural health practitioner and she was really great. She actually recovered from lupus herself.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I knew I was in good hands. And, but then I started into meditation. And when I would see myself in meditation, that's where I started. So when I was young, there'd be all these World Vision commercials on TV, and you'd see these terribly emaciated children. And
we all grew up with that.
I know, that is our generation.
It takes 5 cents a day.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yeah. And so that was what my internal self looked like when I would visualize it. And I had to, that's why in my work, I've started calling myself an inner world explorer and guide. So that was my next step after nutrition, was looking at what is going on internally. Like, I am internally emaciated. I don't know how to take care of my internal world. I don't know how to journey through it. Like, I don't have a map.
And this is still before energy, right? We're talking about mindset, emotional state, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. This came to me. I went to an acupuncturist and he said, you need to start meditating. And I was like, no, like, I'm never going to do that.
Now, did they tell you, I've been there. Let's be real. Like, come on. If I went back just 10 years, I'm like,
I know.
I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like 10 years ago, I didn't even do yoga. Now I love cycling and yoga from time to time. And I'm still, I'm not very consistent with my meditation. I know the value. But I tell people too, I've had some good coaches and they say, listen, like, just fit it in when it feels right. And part of it was, did they tell you that you need a meditation for quieting the mind? Because that's what I was told. Because I'm so go. I just have, I can get a lot done. I'll just say that.
Yeah. My mind is a busy place. Yes.
Yeah. And that's, again, that's I see some people say it's a problem. I'm like, actually, no, channel that as a strength. It's like, listen, if you're high energy and you can go, cool. But just be aware of it. Like you said, your inner world, right? Like, okay, what can I do positively with that? And how do I keep it on check? Make sure I don't go off the rails and just overexert myself so far that I end up injuring myself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's a funny thing about meditation. People like get weirded out. They think they need to put on a rope and be really intense about it or something. And absolutely not. That is not how I approach meditation. If I have 3 minutes.
No chanting.
I mean, I do all those fun things too, but on a regular basis, what I actually more often do is like, if I have 3 minutes, I'll sit down and I'll say, I'm not going to run the world for 3 minutes. That's how I start off to myself. It's nothing fancy. So when that thought comes up, I just let it flow by, because I'm just not going to run the world for 3 minutes. I mean, you can do guided meditation. There's all kinds of cool stuff out there, but
I got apps I just turn on now. There's an app that just plays like soothing music.
Yeah.
Do that for 3 to 5 minutes. Cool.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
I know, it's not hard, and don't stress about it. Like, I've been meditating for 14 years now.
Oh, you got me beat.
It is. It can be those like very tranquil, like Om type moments, and some days it's like an ADHD hamster on a wheel. Like, it's not like you're going to accomplish it and be perfect at it. Just do it when you can fit it in.
Well, I think that goes back to, we were talking about nutrition, and I tell this to people about cleansing and detoxing, or in this case, yoga, meditation, fitness. Like, everyone wants everything now.
Right.
And anybody who really takes the time to slow down and think, and it's like, okay, something major that you've achieved in your life, did it happen overnight? No. You had to start with at least something, a small step. Like in this case, like maybe you turn that app on for 1 minute. You get through a month. Maybe you put that into your calendar now and you say, great, I'm going to make sure I do that every single day. Doesn't matter when. Maybe I'll try putting a reminder in and see if I can do that every single day at lunch. I don't know. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, 14 years ago compared to today, right? Like, well, how did you just gave us a little hint of how you started. And now, like, how long do you meditate now?
It depends. Actually, the busier my life is, the more meditation I put in. So sometimes I do 2 20-minute sessions a day. So
wow.
Where I am when I'm really busy.
Okay. But and what I'm hearing from you, though, the underlying point of what you just said was, hey, I have a busy life. I'm going to shoot for a goal of 220s, but I'm not saying, well, it has to happen at this time of the day. And maybe the day got so busy that maybe I had to move one to tomorrow. So it sounds like you're still probably letting some flexibility in.
Yeah. And, if I'm really busy and I'm aiming for 2, then I'll probably at least get 1.
There you go. I tell people all the time, like, listen, they say, oh, well, you got to put in 110%. I'm like, that's not a bad idea, because first of all, you physically can't put 110% in. Like, that's mathematically incorrect. It's 100%. But it's like racing. To put in 110%. Great. Maybe you had an off day and you only hit 85 to 90. But if you would have set the goal, like, I'm going to get about 85% because I want to save some energy. Well, then you only performed at like 75 or 65. So it's like, you got to set high goals, and it's okay if you don't hit that number. Because if you set the high goal, you'll get a much higher level of performance and results from at least trying to put yourself outside of your comfort zone and going for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was, a couple women in my community were meeting for a workout class on Friday mornings. And so 6 years ago, I actually was barely able to get out of bed.
Wow.
My muscles could not repair after 5 minutes of walking in a day.
You're getting really? Just from a walk?
Yeah, just from walking.
Like atrophy?
It was just like they did not have... I think what happened now, I mean, I'm not totally clear on that. My mind
sounds neurological.
It was not good. It was like my body was trying to save the health of my internal organs, and just like really, like, your muscles are sort of periphery, right? If your body is just so not working well. So they just could not repair. And what was I going to say? Right. So now I'm at this exercise class, and, it's taken until last year till I felt like my muscles are really returning to a place where I can push them hard. So, that's 5 years of not doing a lot. So I'm definitely not in the shape that some of these other women are. And let me tell you, people in Costa Rica, expats down here, like, they love their exercise. Like, there are some women who are just amazing. I love watching.
Well, I hear if I go there, I need to go learn to surf there. Apparently the surf education's legit. I mean,
yes, it is.
Very passionate culture for alignment.
Yeah. But so some of these women who can do so much more than I can still at this point, they're so critical of themselves, and I think that's a huge difference too, to what you're doing. You were just kind of mentioning that, like, whatever I'm doing in the day, am I doing it with a critical attitude toward myself, or am I accepting what I'm doing? And, okay, today was crazy busy and I made it to 75% on that, and I got like 1,400 other things done. I'm going to congratulate myself, like, job well done.
Okay.
And that's, something I think that ties into that fatigue aspect, whether it's adrenal fatigue or what else we're doing. How we talk to ourselves has been a really big thing for me.
So, and actually, since we're coming through the middle of the show here, I'm going to share the screen. Boom. Okay. There's the website. So everything you're talking about, I want to kind of connect it back to you and your brand. And I love the whole story of the tree. I think that's powerful. I love this, your logo here makes me think of, actually, for me, it connects to me at the solar level, but I have a feeling there's maybe some energy coming out of that. That's just me looking. But I mean, what does your logo stand for there? Because I'm just looking at it and I see energy. I see a sun. I mean, is there any purpose behind those little lines and those dashes coming out?
Yeah, that's cool. I actually didn't pick it for that.
Everybody sees things differently.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you said that. I love Art Deco. It was like that period. They were coming out of the Victorian era where it was very repressive, and women were really like taking up their own power and chopping off their hair and their skirts and, like finding their strength again. And so it just resonates with me. It's really clean lined and beautiful. And
is that actually your primary logo?
Or
is that just another variation of it?
Tree as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you the tree thing, I figured you'd have the tree. Obviously, there you go, at the top here.
Yeah.
So, but still, I mean, this could technically symbolize, obviously, the solar radiation, the solar energy, the energy being released from the sun. But then it could also symbolize in a different way how roots reach out from a tree. Like if I was looking straight down from the top of a tree, and at the center of this circle was your trunk, and then boom, those are roots going outward.
Oh, that's a fascinating perspective.
I like to feel this. This is how my brain works. I'm a marketing guy. I like to, because it's like you can now, maybe you take something out of this. Maybe you can do something with that. I don't know. Like
exactly. I'm going to write that down.
Boom.
Yeah.
See, we got to leave with value. And but we're working with you. Okay. You have on here, like, for example, wrap yourself and nurture one-on-one. You got lit from within group packaging. So it looks like you like to work with people one-on-one and group.
Yeah, I work either way. And they're both, equally great for people. It just kind of depends where you feel you're at. And for some people, pricing, I want to make myself open to working with people at all different levels. So,
well, and for your point of view, it's like, okay, if I do a group session, number one, it can get more budget friendly for some people. Yeah. And then out of, let's say, a group of 5 or 4, maybe one person really connects with you. It's like, wow, this needs to be my next mentor, coach, whatever. So then that leads to a one-on-one type of relationship. Does that happen often?
Yeah, sometimes. And the neat thing about working in a group, so when I'm doing a session on a group and working on the energy of the group at one time, being in a group like amplifies energy work. So it's really fascinating. I
have read that. You ladies, again, pardon my terms, but fuel. It seems like you ladies feed and fuel off of each other's energy. For the most part, people say, oh, women are so emotional. I'm like, well, no, I think they're just in a much better place than we are as far as being in touch with those energies. Am I on my own point on that?
Yeah, I think so. Men get taught that that's not okay to be manly. We're hopefully sort of moving into a new place with that. And also women are just cyclical creatures by nature. So things move quicker. We're more flowing. I think our energy is more flowing, whereas men's energy is more stable. And there's, we need each other. Yeah, both those energies are awesome.
Well, that's the other thing I kind of remind people of too. It's like the reason you're not supposed to have the same energy. Like, we need to have differences. That's what makes us unique, but it makes us drawn to different people as well in our lives.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a very broad stereotype. Within every person, there's variations. Like there's the color red, and then you go to the paint store and there's so many variations on that. And that's what makes people just fascinating.
It's gotten a little ridiculous, to be honest with you. Like when I have to go when I have to go repaint something and I go back in a year or two, it's probably the same color, but they've now remarketed it with a different name. And I'm like, could you go back in your computer and confirm if this thing was the same thing that you had 2-3 years ago? Sorry, I just had to go off on that tangent because I every time I go back to a hardware store or a paint store or even go online, it's like, oh my God, how many more color spectrums can we possibly create?
I know. And like, who is that person sitting in a room that can come up with that many names for?
Yeah. I mean, and if that's what they do, they must really love what they do. I mean,
they must. Yes.
The names of these colors are just get a little crazy too.
Yeah. I love reading them.
It's impressive. And you know what? Hey, that's what artists are very good at. It's got to be something obviously with an artistic mindset to do that. So,
yeah.
But something here that I was on your site earlier and I just got myself back here. So, and for our listeners, I'm sharing her website. And again, you guys go to theshelteringyou.com and you can see what I'm seeing. But I went on Work With Me, clicked on Wrap Yourself in Nurture 101. And then I'm going to read this here. So trauma is a big word, right? Because I've already tried to dig in a little bit out of Shawna here. It sometimes seems like something that happens to other people in other places, to refugees or veterans. But as I was hinting at, like, hey, there's different traumatic things that happen in our life. I can relate to this because, so I don't know if you followed me heavily on social media, but last night I went to the movies and my fiance never really got to go together because she's always on call as a doctor, but she came anyway. I was like, listen, I'll pay for the ticket. I don't care if you get called out on emergency. We'll go back and watch another time. But the point was there's a new movie that got premiered called Only the Brave. Okay. And it's a story of the fallen hotshots, the 19 hotshot wildland firefighters, my brothers, that were killed in 2013 in Arizona on a fire. They were all burned over. And obviously that's what I used to do. And literally in the movie, one of the fires they were talking about was called the Horseshoe 2 fire in the Chiricahua Mountains of Arizona. And I'm like, I was assigned to that fire. We were on that fire. They were on that fire. It's like we fought a lot of fires either together or similarly. So it was just interesting. So it affected a lot of us, former firefighters and current firefighters, obviously seeing that mess. That was the biggest firefighter loss since 9/11 in New York City. So that technically, emotionally could, depending on how we experience it, isn't that also considered a trauma energetically? It's not, or maybe emotionally and energetically, because it's not a physical trauma to me. I was not physically harmed. But I'll tell you, man, I was crying last night. Like I'm sitting there trying to fight it off. And I, at the corner of my eye, I just, like, my fiance and I were sitting right next to each other and I noticed she was choking up a little bit. And I was just like, my chest is fluttering. And I'm like, I just gotta roll with it, man. Just gotta go. Just let it out. Just, it's emotional. And she didn't really understand what I did. She never really knew that besides my photographs and me telling stories. But would you rank that? And there's, by the way, shout out to the ladies. There's a hotshot crew in Arizona. When I was fighting fire, there was 4 or 5 women on one of these crews.
Wow.
Like, people were like, man, you guys were like the special forces of firefighting. I'm like, yeah. And you know, females do this too. And they're like, no. And I was like, yeah. I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Just some strong ladies.
Some strong women.
Yeah. But so is that a traumatic experience? I think it's important for people hearing this to understand this word. Like you said, trauma is a big word. I mean, and real quick, I'm going to finish your point here on your website, but when you look inside, take a deep breath and honest, that is the only word to describe some of the things that have happened to you. And that's why I wanted to clarify with you. I'm like, okay, am I using that word properly? Does it make sense with your profession and how you talk to people?
Right. Well, there's certainly going to be like clinical definitions of that word. And as I said, the talk around trauma is shifting. And so that's why I put on there, take a deep breath and look inside. Is that the best word to describe it to you? Because, maybe somebody, was bullied in high school and they are just the kind of person where it rolls off their back. And the next person just takes it to heart. It is so much more than they have the ability to cope with. So that's really the key in determining whether it was traumatic or not for you. So was it more than you could handle and recover from, your ability to deal with it? And so then, you know, we don't have to keep going around comparing like, well, I didn't live through a war. I didn't live through, you know, this event or that event. Because if it's still producing the symptoms of trauma, and you can go look them up. There's some really great websites. I remember when I found that list and I was like, wow, I have every single one, you know, and I've never been to war. I haven't fought fires.
Or for example, the tragic losses of 9/11 here in the US of A. It's like, a lot of people were traumatized by that.
Yeah. And actually a lot of my American colleagues were commenting during your election that a lot of what they were seeing in their sessions, that was enough to be traumatizing to many people. So it's not something physical, you know, but they felt threatened.
Oh, believe me, my fiance was traumatized. She's very outspoken about it.
It was threatening, and it puts up that defensive system. I need to be hypervigilant. I need to be protecting myself. It's hard to let it go, hard to wind down. So those are some of the symptoms of that. So it really depends per person, you know, and where your body's at. Like you said, you work really hard at your nutrition, your exercise. You're probably going to have a better bounce back ability, I guess, you could say.
With proper sleep cycles as well and everything else. But I mean,
all those things.
That's something I always remind people, guys, like, I'm a fitness nut. I'm a health nut. I really, the past couple of years, became a bigger nut about the power of rest and recovery. Like, hey, man, if I feel a little beat up, I'll take an extra rest day. Like, that's my body talking to me. And that's the power of what everything you're talking about right now, is that a lot of people don't have the ability to listen to their body's energy, right?
Yeah.
It takes time to get to that point.
Definitely.
And isn't it true that that's different for everybody too? Like, clearly, you've already told us your story, and you weren't, I mean, where you're at today, you could not hear or feel or I don't know, listen at the same level you were 10 years ago, 14 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I've even like taken a little notebook and like written out like this, when I'm experiencing this, this means this. So what have you found? Like, I need to rest and relax. What are the things that you notice happening in your body at that time?
That's a good point. It's a classic fitness trick, for example, is that, hey, when you go work out, you keep a little journal. And like for some people nowadays, like our younger millennial generation, they're using their iPhones or whatever. And I do recommend using the Evernote app. You can use it for anything. I use it for my business and everything. But the point is like, if you take notes, number one, especially if you're handwriting it, when you physically write something, there's actually a psychological connection in your brain that triggers that and actually improves blatant memorization. But more importantly, to your point, like, again, historically, guys say, hey, write down your workouts, because then you can look back and see where you were at a month ago, 90 days, 6 months ago. Yeah. Well, it's like everything you're talking about right here. Like, okay, what do you feel? What do you hear in your mindset, your meditation, whatever today? Now, fast forward 90 days from now, you're going to be writing things completely different.
Right. Yeah. And once you figure out like one thing that your body's saying to you, that doesn't mean you're going to remember it, 3 weeks down the road. So write it down. That it just saves, having to go back and figure it out again. Saves time.
I love getting these little nooks and crannies. Our listeners, guys, like, she's giving you some hacks. Okay. So take notes. And again, it's a podcast. So you just pause and hit that little rewind button on the app, like 30 seconds, and hear it again. So I do it all the time.
Yeah, I love those buttons. They're so handy.
Right? I was like, oh man, what did they say? 15 second, 30 second, what? Boom. Okay. Yeah. Because actually, I think iTunes is different. I use the Stitcher app a lot, and they each have a different rewind feature. And one, I love it for 15 seconds, and one, sometimes I love it for the 30 second. I was like, there's no consistency there, but hey, it's still very, very helpful.
Yes.
So with your target audience, clearly ladies, you don't work with men at all, right?
If something on my website really connected with a man, I would be very open to working with him. But yeah, generally I do work with women, both in my online practice and where I work in the free energy clinic here. So
yeah, okay, that's something I wanted to pop into. I'm glad you brought that up. If our listeners are like, what's a free energy clinic? So I'll say it more seriously. Like, what is a free energy clinic? I mean, because I poked around your site, I didn't know about that. Like, clearly that's something separate. Okay. Now, are you like basically there as a resource because of your profession? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, so there's this amazing woman that I met here. She moved here from Belgium about 15 years ago. We're near Tamarindo, Costa Rica.
Okay.
And she set up a resource center. She fundraised 70% of the cost to build the building and get everything running herself. The government contributed 30%. And she provides resources to people living in poverty or extreme poverty. So that is characterized as, in my area, 31,000 colones a month is extreme poverty. So that works out to around $62 a month or less.
That's pretty extreme.
That's pretty extreme.
I just did I actually had on a swimming charity from Nicaragua. And they come back up here because the guys who found it are from here. They come up here, do a lot of their fundraising for like a few weeks, and then the one coach goes back and he runs the program there, getting kids in the pool, teaching them how to become great swimmers, etc. And I had no idea that Nicaragua was listed as like literally like number 2 is the poorest country in their hemisphere.
Yeah.
And I think their family income worked out to be, like you just said, was it 62? Or 60 something. I think theirs was like 100. Like it was, wow. It's not that much better.
No,
it's pretty bad.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So myself and a homeopath and one woman who does acupuncture, midwife work, and she was a nurse in the United States. Mm-hmm. We all come together and we have an amazing translator, and we provide our services for free. Wow. For an entire day every week at this clinic, serving the local women in our community and their children usually.
And is there pardon me, but I mean, is there like a website for the clinic? Like if people are listening to this and they want to like follow it or learn more about it, or is there anything that exists online, or is it all still grassroots? That is my next step
for my website.
You were going to add it. You were going to add in something to help them get more exposure.
Yeah, I want to do that. But you can Google.
Is there a name for it?
Yes, it's called Cepia, Cepia. So I'm sure if you Googled Cepia Guanacaste, Guane, I'm going to write this down.
I got it. Google auto recognizes.
Yeah, Guanecaste.
I'm going to share my screen.
Oh, great.
Hold on. Boom. There's a Cepia Association.
Yeah.
Is this them?
That is them, and they're just working.
Is this the building she built?
Yes, it's
That's
just
freaking
beautiful.
Gorgeous.
So there's a library, a computer lab.
Touch screen. I can zoom in. There you go. Watchers on YouTube, our listeners, again, you guys can always find this in the show notes and click to the YouTube video and go see this. Like, this is gorgeous.
It is. Yeah. So we have daycare for high risk kids there, after school programs for high risk, clothing, like courses to learn how to sew or use computers to provide the skills that can get families into a different income bracket. Wow.
This is some of you guys have sponsors and partners to help you try and cover some of the association. So CepiaCostaRica.org is what I'm on, but that's not her actual site, or that is the actual site.
I believe that is the actual site. Yep. And there, if anybody would like to contribute, there's donors there. And if you're ever down in our area, please come for a tour. We'd love to have you there. Yep. There they are on Facebook.
I'm going to bring that up too. And again, here's what we're going to do to our listeners, guys. I'm going to go ahead and add this. Usually I have just like the bios and all of Shawna's social media for her organization's show notes. But like, dude, anytime promote somebody, talk about somebody, I'm going to put the backlinks in the show notes because you never know. And plus, Google likes that. It could give them maybe my site and what you and I are coming together and doing today could potentially increase a little more online exposure in the Google world. Like that would be an awesome thing.
That would be amazing. Yeah. And we were talking sort of before the show officially started that hurricane or tropical storm Nate visited us a couple weeks ago.
Yes. So, like their page.
There are people who don't have, we've been cooking and taking food out, and people will be saying, we haven't fed our children in 3 days. So they are just working to get out medical care, clothing, food. That's probably a picture right there.
Yeah, there we go. To our listeners, we're showing a Facebook page right now. That's a muddy looking photo of a house, I'm guessing.
That is their dirt floor, and the water just comes down the mountain and right through the house. The house is still
that's standing. Literally flowing through the house.
Yeah, and sometimes it just takes the house away. So,
dear Lord.
That is somebody's house.
And this is something we take for granted, guys. Listen, sorry, men and ladies listening to this. But wow. This is powerful.
Yeah. So it's just amazing to meet these women. I mean, these women and their families and what they go through, they are strong, amazing women. I love working with them. Yeah.
This is so cute. I mean, she's got
Yeah.
a little kitten there. And this is true. Like we see this in the aftermath on the news. Like people don't realize, to our listeners, guys, again, this is for our USA listeners, but really anybody around the world, if you follow anything in the online news, like, and you Google hurricane plus Costa Rica, you're going to see powerful images. Costa Rica you guys got your butt kicked. I don't know how the better way to put it. So.
Yes, we did.
And I mean, honestly, you look at this photograph and I see metal roof panels being used for wall paneling and basic 2x4 structure. Like I mean, if this house is still standing, they were just lucky and in a good spot, because that would have gotten leveled by hurricane force winds. Yeah.
And that's probably their drinking water in those buckets back there. So
I can only speak to this from construction because I'm not a construction professional, but I did build homes with Habitat for Humanity, and I helped build 5 homes. So I got to learn a lot about proper building. And granted, but these homes were built up here in the US, actually literally 20 minutes from me, for low income families. So,
right. Oh, I love that organization. Yeah.
I love Habitat. Habitat's awesome. Again, shout out to our Habitat followers. Anybody who listening to this show, if you do Habitat volunteer work, we love you, because it was one of those. I do a lot of charity work with different charities, and it's just one of those experiences that helped change my life. So I loved it, because like there, you literally see the future homeowners working alongside of you because it's required. It's part of the program.
Yeah.
Like I actually made I'm flashback right now. I made one of the fathers. I was working on his house, and they actually made me like house build team leader, whatever, because the main construction manager of Habitat just didn't like talking to people. I was like, you're running a not-for-profit that helps people. I was like, and it's just all depends on volunteers. And you want to talk to people? He's like, listen, you just take that team. That guy's going to take that team. He's like, I'll just talk to you. I was like, okay. But it was just so cool because he had never been on the second floor of a house. His prior home was always first story. So we were building it, and I took up on the second floor, and then we got ready to build the roof. I'm like, hey man, you're coming up here, man. Like I tied him off, put a safety harness on. I'm like, come up here, because I was the guy who just like literally would run from rooftop to rooftop. And I'm not afraid of that stuff. So he I remember, because he's like, you're in a Latin accent. He's like, you're a crazy monkey. And I was like, thank you. Appreciate that. But it was cool because I got him up there at least for a little bit, got him to actually take a roof. We were putting the plywood on. We weren't even putting the roof shingles yet. And he got to at least hammer a few nails, into his future roof. And, a year later, when we finally dedicated that home and that development that we were building, he was like, dude, he's like, that was cool, man. He's like, and not his exact words, but he said, that was actually one of my most memorable experiences of building the house, because you were right. Like knowing that this was going to be the roof that protects my family and for years to come. And it was just, you know what it is. It's like one of those experiences you just never forget. It was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about that, like work, life, business balance. And, that's one of the things I think that just makes such a big difference. Just what you were saying, taking some time to, help out in some really productive way, people who just have less than you, and you just realize how much you have. You don't have to be so panicky about it. And it's just like recharging for the batteries,
Oh yeah. It's like today. I'm wearing my friend's pedal. He's a bike shop in Colorado, and I'm wearing IMBA, which is the International Mountain Biking Association. But because literally right now today, I spent all day with other volunteers at my local park. We're hosting for the second year in a row it's called the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Bicycling Association, and it literally helps middle school and high school kids and school systems build mountain bike race teams for mountain biking, which normally I've only ever seen in Colorado, where I used to live there too, but I'm from here. And it's just so cool. It's like last year we had 200 kids from all over the state of Pennsylvania show up a race. This year we have 400 showing up. So we were out there like taping off the course in the woods, and I was fixing trail systems, and people people are texting me like, hey man, like, hey, we want to hang out today. I'm like, nah, dude, on the trails. And because And when you and I finish here, I'm going to go and hang out with the guys who run the organization because they're just all hanging out, having beverages together at one of the guys' house. I'm like, hey, I want to swing over, get to know you guys better because this is my park. I volunteer. I build trails here all the time. It's just something. I'm a huge biker, so that's how I tie myself to my community.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just I guess the big picture, everything you and I are saying that keeps popping in my head, I wanted to say was the energy that comes off of that is really what I take away nowadays. Now that I've moved further along the timeline, I've done a lot of charity work over the years. It was in the beginning, I used to feel like selfish because I'd be promoting it and I wasn't trying to self-promote. I was trying to attract more people to come. So I was like, hey, I wasn't bragging like, hey, I did this and built a house. No, I want you to come out and experience Habitat for Humanity, dude. It's life-changing. Or come out and build a mountain biking trail and then come pedal it. I'll show you how to race it better, whatever. And I think that's the energy. Since you're an energy guru as well, it's like, this is the kind of energy that becomes hard-grained in us. And then we don't realize it, but we're actually giving it off. It's emanating out of us.
Yeah.
And it totally helps me get more aligned. Like I came home here and I was like, boom, 2 podcasts. You're the second one. And my fiance, I literally had time to grill dinner, serve dinner. My fiance came in, started doing podcasts. And she's just like, you just haven't stopped today. And I was like, I'm high as a kite right now. I feel friggin' awesome. So I think that's important people to eventually find those energies. They're powerful and they're natural.
Yeah. Find out what fills the tank for you. And it's not just working all the time.
Yeah. It's lifestyle balance. Like you said, you're like, listen, that's part of the lifestyle balance. And again, to our listeners, guys and ladies and gentlemen, maybe you're not excited by charity work. That's cool. We're not going to think anything less of you. Although I truly think that everybody needs to get a taste of it, but fine. Big picture. Maybe it's just like you hinted, taking the time off, unplug from all the technology, go spend time, go read a book, learn to meditate, maybe just try intermittent fasting. Hey, I'm just not going to eat because breakfast, it means breakfast. So it's like, hey, maybe I'm going to push my breakfast to lunchtime. Do that for a couple of days. Just try it. Because like everybody's like, oh, I don't fast, I don't cleanse. I'm like, try it. Can't knock it till you try it. Charity work. Right. Can't knock it till you try it. People are like, oh, Costa Rica got the butt kicked by a hurricane. I don't want to go there. I'm like, can't knock it till you try it. It's still on my travel list.
Yeah, no, you'll still have a great time. And that's right. Like your mom always said, you can't complain about broccoli till you try it. So whatever it is,
I did not like broccoli as a kid. I buy it like a giant bag load. I steam it. I grill it. I drizzle it in garlic olive oil. Yeah. It's just just like never stop learning, never stop trying. And it's what keeps you alive. It's people who are done with learning. They're set, and they're not going anywhere different. That's like a really long death to me. Yes. Thank you. Like these are the things that keep us young. Emotionally, mentally. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? If you align yourself mentally and emotionally, the physical will follow. That's something that I have learned over the years. Like if you're hitting a wall in your lifestyle goals, your fitness goals, your training goals, the biggest thing that I have found that breaks through the physical wall is taking some time, like you have done, Shawna. You've had to take the time to not focus on the physical. You needed to start focusing on the energy, the mental, the emotional, and that energy to get your body to the point where it was finally ready to start listening in again and ready to take on that new stimulation and start healing and getting strong again.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's like taking that internal journey for me that actually led to us moving down to Costa Rica. The inside reflects the outside. And, I lived overseas actually as a child, but never as the adult in the family, like done all the paperwork, gotten all those details in order. It scared the pants off me. But we did it, we're like, hey, we can come back in a year. And it has been the best thing for our family. It was a huge risk. Yeah. We're Canadians. We more lean towards French instead of Spanish. We really didn't know any Spanish. And it was a gigantic risk. And none of my family would go back. And we are, I think, the happiest we've ever been just because we followed that and took that risk.
The other beauty of that is they always say, like, if you want to learn a language, immerse yourself in the culture. So it kind of freaked you out, but you're now surrounded by it. So you're going to pick it up sooner or later.
Yeah, it's going to happen. You just take it one step at a time. And that's how you make big change in your life, is one step at a time.
Love that. Well, so we got to get this show to the close because I still got to go catch up with those other volunteers. But I hinted at it earlier before we started recording this. Like, I love to close out the show with our co-host having the final words and that final message to leave behind. And you've already shared so much powerful messaging with us tonight. I'm definitely, again, shout out to the Cepia, Cepia, Costa Rica. Check them out, guys. I'm going to have them linked in the show notes. But is there an all-encompassing message that's leading you forward right now that if our listeners forget everything about you and obviously your brand, which I'm not allowed to because I'm going to have everything all over the website. So again, guys, theshelteringyou.com, YEW. But what is an all-encompassing message or something you want to leave behind for our listeners that they can remember about you and help maybe convince them to start following your butt?
All right. Thanks so much. I think the biggest thing that I would say is my life was miserable. It was, I lived in pain. I lived in fatigue. It was miserable internally, and I didn't know how to get out of that. And so it really was one step at a time. That was a thing. And that led me to my body, and the body gets a lot of disrespect, but the body is just this safe place. It is full of so much generosity, so much abundance, so much information for you about how to heal, how to live your life, whether it's like take an adventure, move to Costa Rica, or, a smaller adventure, whatever it is, the body is the most amazing guide I have ever found.
Love that. There you go, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, the body is one of those powerful things. Let it guide you. So, Shawna, hang tight. I'll give you a proper goodbye. To our listeners, another awesome Live the Fuel episode. I feel even more energized right now. I don't know about you. And if you're not, you might want to follow theshelteringyou.com because maybe you can start picking up some new little tips and little ways to start spiking that energy level, because that's what life is all about, guys. So, again, thanks for listening in to another Live the Fuel show. This is what we're all about. As I always say, keep living the fired up, epic life. And I'll talk to you guys again soon. Clear of the pod.
All right.
Well, I hope you had fun.
That was fun. Thank you.
Yes, we hit on so many different domains, which is the way I love it. I love the fact that my whole goal for my show as it continues to grow is so my co-hosts are so comfortable that I truly felt you're really letting transparency out there. And I don't know if you share all that stuff with everybody or not. I have no idea. Maybe because that is a part of who you are. And if you are somebody who's helping women with energy and alignment, you kind of have to be transparent, right?
Yeah. That's the way it goes. To guide someone like into some of those deep places, you got to have been there before and share some of that with people for sure. Awesome. Yeah. And I just loved hearing your story about the mountain biking, and that's so amazing for those kids. It's gonna be really awesome.
Oh my God, there was like 6-year-olds out there ripping today. It was awesome. Like, I'm up there. I was digging a boulder out of it was just a boulder that was definitely these kids were not going to be able to ride through. So I'm hacking it out with a Pulaski, which is a tool that I used to use out west firefighting. So it's basically got an axe on one end and a digging piece of steel on the other. So I can hack through a tree root, spin it around and swing at a rock and eventually dig out anyway, it was fun. This kid comes up and he's like, he hits the rock and he bounces off, puts his foot down. And he's just like, oh, I got this. Grabs his bike and keeps on pedaling through it. I was like, dude, I was not like that at 6 years old. That was awesome. I was like, I could stop what I'm doing right now and be like, oh, dude, great weekend. And the race doesn't happen until tomorrow.
Yeah, my daughter's really into mountain biking, and it just like builds that self-confidence. Like, I can do this because I just conquered that hill, And
everybody starts at a different place on the timeline. They have to put in the reps. Like, my fiance got into riding a couple years ago, but she's not as aggressive as me. Like, I've done racing in Colorado and Arizona and Georgia. And so I've been around the block. I've been riding a long time. Mm-hmm. So, hey, cool. I like to do events like this because I know we're giving back. And like I said, here's a good example. Like, we literally had 200 kids here last year. Now we have 400 kids this year. So clearly something's moving in the right direction. And this is just Pennsylvania. So, and my friends right now literally are running in the same race league from Colorado that I used to help with a charity out there called the Cyclismo Youth Foundation, helping kids get on bikes. And my buddies are in Colorado preparing for their race tomorrow, same league. Mm-hmm. But out there, Northern Colorado, 800 kids, Southern Colorado, 800 kids. So if all kids actually signed up and attended this race, they would have 1,600 kids competing.
Wow.
He said last time he checked, there was a 40% registration rate. So you're still looking at, I don't know. So hold on, 800, what, 600 kids racing.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
That's a lot of tykes on two wheels. So
yes.
But very good. You should definitely keep inspiring her, keep motivating her. Two wheels changed my life. I love riding. So I'm a huge road cyclist too. And I do the downhill stuff when I have the free time, like on the ski race hills. You can actually race downhill bikes and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, she's got this amazing English teacher. Everybody gets to teach her one thing. She's teaching her downhill, like switchbacks.
Nice.
Like, oh my gosh, what a brave woman, an English teacher.
Speed checking yourself, navigation, hitting the tight turns, having the balance control, the core alignment, listening and feeling. Oh yeah. I was literally building a new switchback transition today because we decided to reroute one of the trails to make it better. And I never realized we could have made it better until, hey, I got 400 kids going through here. I'm like, this sucks. I need to fix this. And 3 of the volunteers grabbed some tools, banged it out. And now I realized, like, man, why didn't I change this 2 years ago? It just takes, worrying about 400 kids pumping through there to make a change. So super fun.
Great. Well,
this has been great.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, and as a takeaway from tonight, besides obviously you name dropping that great organization you're partnered with, I'm definitely want to make sure we get that in there. If there's any other links that you think need to be included, social media especially too, feel free to email it back over because then it'll just make me easier when I'm building out your blog article content and the show notes. But I want to make sure I don't miss anything that's really, really important, especially for them. I love this. Let's help them get some more exposure.
Sure. Oh, thank you. That would be amazing. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll have it to you by Monday.
Got to figure out how I'm going to do the blog article title, the show episode title. Let's see if I can work them into the name or something. See where my marketing brain goes to on that one. So
I trust you.
Well, thank you again. I'm glad you and Costa Rica are healing. I have friends down there, associates that I'm aware of. They've been going back and forth doing charity work, rebuilding work. I think a lot of stuff is like full steam ahead right down there right now. It's still far from finished, but
yeah.
So,
all right. Have a great day tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you. You too. It's been wonderful. And obviously once this is in the lineup in the next 2 weeks, I'll give you your release date and then you'll be able to do your social media thing or email listing, whatever you want to do. We'll cross-share the heck out of it. Obviously I blow up everybody across all my social media as well. So
yeah, I'll do my best.
All right.
Have a great evening.
Have a great night.
Yeah. Bye.